17. You probably didn't know that fa la 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 is ancient Greek for praise Jesus. I'm totally kidding. It's not. Thank you, Sheridan, for reminding us that we're still here. There was a lot of humor on the internet. They were making jokes like there was no tomorrow. I apologize. As we're opening the Acts 17, hey, Merry Christmas, everybody, guys. I'm getting used to the idea that you'll be laughing to jokes that your family and friends will be making over the holiday over the next few days. That might not always be that funny, but that's okay. You can still laugh. The Spirit. All right, Acts chapter 17. As we get into this, I do want to put out a spoiler alert here. We are going to be having a mature conversation about Santa Claus. So if there are any younglings in the room that might be not ready for this conversation, because we know that as parents, many of us have an inside track to Santa, and so we know certain things. So maybe just make sure everyone's okay. If you're not, you can escort your children upstairs to the children's classes, or hang out outside. This is my warning. I've said it. I will not be, I'll be above reproach from now on. All right? Everyone clear on that? Mature conversation about Santa. Rethink your thoughts. Rethink whether you're not going to stay in it. I'm giving you one last shot. Because we're moving forward. Okay, Acts chapter 17. You guys there? It says in verse 16. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and the God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to dispute with him. Some of them asked, "What is this babbler trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be advocating foreign gods." They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Then they took him and brought him to a meeting of the Areopagus, where they said to him, "May we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting? You're bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we want to know what they mean." All the Athenians and foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, "Men of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' Now what you worship as something unknown, I am going to proclaim to you." We're going to stop there. All right. First point is faith place. Got a couple observations I'm going to make about this text. The first thing we're going to talk about is our starting point, a faith place, a place of faith. Look what he says there. What does he call them? He's greatly distressed, and actually that's like a total understatement. In the Greek, it's the root word for words that we have like infuriated, all right? Ready to take violent action, all right? He was not just greatly distressed. He was really upset to see all these idols all over the place, right? And so he's upset. He's looking at them, and what does he call them at the end of this text when he starts speaking to them? Does he call them names? Does he say, "You're a bunch of hypocrites"? What does he say? "You're very religious." Now, like me, you might be thinking, well, he's being sarcastic. Anyone thinking that? I know. You're like, oh, no, he's being sarcastic. Actually, it's a funny word in the Greek also. It's very ambiguous. It could be sarcastic, like, oh, you're just a bunch of religious people. Or it's ambiguous enough to leave room for, wow, you guys are very religious. You guys get the difference? Wow, you guys got it going on. You're really committed to what you're doing. Or, wow, you guys are so religious. You ever heard anyone say that to you? You're so religious. Going to church on the 23rd of December? What are you doing? You should stay home. You got tomorrow off. Right? But you can't. No. Okay, all right. We're here. We're ready. So Paul begins to speak to them, and he wants to win them over. You know, Athens at that time was the center of culture, the center of intellect and academia. That's where all the debates took place. It was the capital of the Roman Empire in terms of culture and smart people talking about things. And what does it say they did around all day? What did they do? Talk about the latest ideas, right? You know anyone that does that? They just love debating the latest ideas, right? Some of you are like, yeah, that's me. That's me. I love talking. All I want to do is go to work and talk about the latest. What's going on with the sports team? What's going on with politics? And there's some fun in that, right? Talking about what's going on. But that's all they did back then. Some people even got paid for doing that. That'd be a sweet job, right? We called you in here for an interview. Okay, what am I going to be doing? Well, we want to make sure you're qualified to just talk about whatever's going on. I think I can do that. All right. It's a good job to have. We're going to pay you for it. There was a writer named Petronius, not from Harry Potter, okay? He was a writer 2,000 years ago. And Petronius said, it was easier to find a god in Athens than it was to find a person. So there's statues and idols and people worshiping all kinds of stuff all the time. Now, it says there's two groups of people in here. If you guys look back at your text, we are studiers of our Bible. What does it say in verse 18? What are our two groups there? Got the Epicureans and the... You ever heard someone call someone else stoic? He's just so stoic. Right? And you kind of have this like, you know, I'm not affected by things, right? So this comes from these philosophers back then. The Epicureans, their goal in life was pleasure. All they cared about was pleasure. That was the ultimate end goal for them. They worshipped pleasure. And they believed that the universe came from atoms and that everything, you know, there's no afterlife, everything just kind of developed and it's going to go back to the earth and to its atomic form. And so they just said, just enjoy whatever we got. Because there's going to be no eternal consequences. And sometimes they acknowledge that these other gods may exist, but they said, they're indifferent to us. They don't care about us, mere humans. The Stoics, you know what they worshipped? Themselves. Alright? They worship themselves. They said, we are the full divine manifestation. We are gods ourselves even. We can figure stuff out. We're smart enough. We're good looking enough, and doggone it, people like us. I mean, they were just like the world of self-esteem. Like, we're good. We're just good. We're like divine. We're like gods. That's what the Stoics thought. So emotions and desire and all that stuff, they were above all that. All right? Yeah, we're like, it's almost like a logical culture. We'll figure it all out. Give me a problem and I'll solve it. All right? So these guys are worshiping other stuff. The Jews, they worship the law, many of them. Romans, many of them worship power. If you go to Troy and you study some of the soldiers and warriors, they worship war, battle, honor, and dying in battle. Do you think 2,000 years has changed our idols very much? You think you find people still worshiping power? Still worshiping those things that we talked about? They worship money. You know anyone that worships cars? Did you scratch my car? That is my everything. My baby, my sweet car. It's like, it's amazing what people worship these days, right? It's the same as it was back then. Career status. I know people that worship food. They sit down to a table. They're not praying to God. They're praying to food. Oh, I'm so happy to eat you. He's got me so delicious. I've been waiting for you all day. It's going to be awesome. Amen. I know people that worship relationships. That think that their dating relationship or marriage is what's going to solve all their problems and make them happy. I know people that worship products and accomplishments, brands, a business model, a financial guru, a mentor, a pioneer, an intellectual, a leader, a celebrity. Do we know people that worship celebrities? Man, they know more about their Facebook than the celebrity knows about it. They know all their tattoos and what they mean. They know what movie and what quote and what this and what that and where the scar came from on the left side of their cheek. We got worshipers today, just like we did 2,000 years ago. Now, Paul has a few options, like I mentioned. He could do a few things here. He could either blast them and say, you guys are way on the wrong track, we gotta bring you back, you guys are nuts. Or he could say, you know what? You believe in something, and that's a good start. Or he could do both. What did he end up doing? You Bible scholars, he did both, right? something. Let's start with that. He gets on later about the idolatry. He says, oh, you're going to have to face judgment for that. And he tries to help him get there. But he starts with, man, it's amazing that you have so much belief that you worship all these other things. And you even got an inscription on one of your idols that says, to an unknown God. Let me tell you who that unknown God is. Who you're really worshiping. Who is the creator of all those things. Who puts those things in the stars and the sky. You're worshiping the star. Let me help you worship the one who made those stars. And so he starts to expound and teach them, to try to appeal to them. He's going to talk about the resurrection, and they get confused and like, whoa, we got to bring in the Areopagus. We got to talk more about this. We want to know what you're talking about. But he starts with a place of faith. It's amazing what people do for the things that they worship, what they'll do for their career, right? Do you know people that will do a lot for their career? Yeah. I mean, they're willing to put it all out there. They're willing to do amazing things and even some devious things. But they have put it out, they have counted the cost on what it means to believe in those things. They have a great seed of faith that if applied to the right God, they'd be doing just fine, right? You guys with me here? Yeah. So what I'm going to introduce you to now is a little story about Santa Claus. And I want to show you how amazing an American faith is in Santa. So I'm going to show you a video. I'm hoping it works. We have a little bit of technical difficulties. So if we don't have sound, we'll have to stop it and see if it works. And there's no sound. Okay. All right. So where's my buddy Carter? He's not up there.
We got plan B done.
Oh, you got it? He's already there. Whoa! That's awesome. All right, we're going to try to bypass the cake. Isn't Carter amazing? All right, want to try it again? Yeah. Got volume up? I hear something.
I hear it. Yep.
We just need more volume. Let's try computer volume, and then you're all the way up. Steve, you got something there? Oh, it was working the first time? Sorry, wake up. Alright. Try again.
I was able.
Never know what's going to happen. Full surprise at the church today. All right, are we okay to try this? You got the channel down a little bit? Yeah. What is that noise? It's really hot in the monitors here. Some major static. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, let's try again.
I was able to get a job playing a Santa Claus in one of the major department stores here in New York City. And I've had the opportunity in the past playing Chris Kringle in a production of Miracle on 34th Street. And did that several years ago, and I've also done some private party Santas, but I never had the opportunity to do it this way.
I'm going to roll through a couple of videos here.
I had a guy come in who had just seen the Rockette show, the Rockettes, Radio City, and talked to me as if he